in the back and Happy is munching at the front. I want to welcome you all again to our Let's Create speaker series. We've had a lot of great discussions thus far with Create. Some of the speakers that we had today, I am honored that we have Dr. Michael Sherrod here joining us from the Institute of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. You all are definitely in for a treat as he covers business model canvas. Before we get started, does anyone have any updates or things they would like to share regarding their startup, or new discoveries, or things you've read or come across, or just want to share a win that you've had, whether in your startup or in school and life in general? Anybody want to share a win?
It's been a couple of days ago, I attended this event by Dr. Jacqueline, soon to be in the innovation.
Oh, Navarrete?
Exactly, Innovation Network. And they were talking about VR and XR, and they had us try the VR experience. And that kind of inspired me because growing up in Africa, where I went to literally the best school in Rwanda, that's why I'm here in the United States. But we didn't have well-equipped developers and all that. And learning was much like, telling you that this is how a computer looks like. I learned Windows and Microsoft through a diagram on the board. The teacher would come and draw and say, hey, this is where the cursor goes, this is enter, this is where you put the picture. And it was so annoying and felt like it's very much distant to me, and it didn't make so much sense. Then I can imagine Sanskrit, learning how to dissect, but when you don't have the experiments and the resources there. So that kind of inspired me, and I was like, wow, this is actually a business opportunity here. You had a bunch of VRs and you're able to build software using AI and all that. You can do business with the government. But even if that was not the case, there is a lot of value in VR or experimental education right there and access that. So I ended up buying a VR, and before coming here, I was like in the International Space Station. Saying hi to the world, looking how everything looks like up there in the sky, and I feel like it's something pretty beautiful to share.
Nice. No, I appreciate you sharing that. So I would definitely encourage you all, if y'all aren't familiar with the Innovation Network, this is now considered the new Innovation Hub. On the first floor is kind of the home base for the Innovation Hub. Soon to be Dr. Jacqueline Navarrete is the director. And so what she's doing is providing a lot of different programs that typically happen outside of your major college that you attend to. And so what Happy was describing was an event that she did a couple weeks ago. Was it last week?
Yeah, it was last week.
Last week on having VR. So it had someone come in that does VR technology, kind of exposing folks to that. Today, actually, and unfortunately, we had our programs at the same time. She has Dr. J. Mack coming in from the medical school, showing how you can be a content creator using your phone. And so she has those type of programs. It's the first semester for it. She'll do some more next semester, and we'll collaborate on some things too. But a big thing of what Happy was talking about was kind of those 3 E's that you kind of hear me talk about: education, experience, and exposure. Education, experience, and exposure. And so when thinking about what you want to do in life, or what you want to become, or what startups you want to develop, having the education, having the experience, but ultimately having the exposure to different things allows for that creative energy in yourself to start moving and going. Cool. All right. Well, with that being said, I will now turn it over to our speaker workshop leader for today. Everyone should get a copy of the business model canvas. I got you over there, which is what we'll be kind of going over today. So with that being said, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Michael Sherrod.
So this, we're going to talk about the business model. It doesn't matter. This is one of the most flexible tools you can use. It's great for entrepreneurial thinkers. This is the business model canvas. This is what it looks like. It was created by Alex Oster. Can't think of his last name right now, but he has Strategizer, which is a website that has all kinds of data you can go in and look at. It has 9 areas to look at. We're going to go through them all. But you can see you've got customer segments, which are intimately related to your value proposition. You've got customer relationships and channels, which are all about how you're going to extract value. create value, and key activities and resources and key partners. These are the things you need in order to create the value and help you create value. Then you have your cost structure, which is all about your burn rate and how much money you're going to be able to have available for your program, and all the revenue streams. So that's basically the 9 areas we're going to talk about. Now you'll see 10 in the presentation because customer segments also has a section around jobs to be done, a framework that you can use to figure out what your customers actually need you to solve. So, but this is what we're going to be talking about. And this thing is used worldwide. I keep a stack of these on my desk at all times because when I have an idea, I can quickly go through this and it gives me an idea if it's a good idea or if it's a real business opportunity. And generally speaking, I don't move ahead if this doesn't give me the insight I need to realize that I've got a business opportunity, not just a good idea. Okay, I want to show you this this quick video. It's about 6 minutes long. It gives you a great overview and it'll kind of set the stage for what we want to talk about.
Might need to, hold on. Yeah, I muted it.
Oh. We're getting a pad anyway.
United is the way we come together, so everyone can thrive.
Can you hear it?
Great describing the benefit business organization. Concept of the business model is invaluable to maintain how the business operates, clearly identifying 9 basic building blocks of the business.
Hello.
The first building block, second, that the organization serves. Each group should have distinct needs that require different channels of value. To your idea of the most important creating value for. What type of relationship does each segment want? It's mainly that you need to decide not to serve certain groups of customers so that you are using your resources efficiently. The way in which you create value for your customers is described as the value proposition, that aspect of your product or service that distinguishes you from the competition. How do you create value for your customers? This can include the way in which you design your offering or create a premium brand. It could be that you offer a unique experience, or that you provide something at a significantly lower price point than your competition. Value can also be created not by price, but by speed of delivery or an enhanced service. Ask yourself how you create value for your customers. Are you removing a pain or providing something that people want? The third basic building block describes how the value proposition is communicated and delivered to your customers. How do you raise awareness of your brand and your offerings? How do you help your customers to evaluate the value that you bring? What routes can your customers use to buy the products and services that you provide? How do you deliver your value proposition? And what support do you offer once a sale has been made? Each customer segment will expect a different type of experience when they engage with your business. And this is explored in the next building block, customer relationships. How does your organization interact with each of your customer segments? This can range from a personal interaction to self-service or automated experiences, or it could include a more collaborative relationship through a sense of shared communal experience, or even working with customers to jointly create offerings. These first 4 building blocks are essentially concerned with the customer, who we serve and how we do it. The key activities block then describes those things that you need to do to be successful in delivering your value proposition. This could be producing a product that meets certain standards or quality, or in providing a service that removes a pain or problem on behalf of your customer. The third type of activity is in providing a space where other vendors and customers can exchange products or services, such as an online marketplace. Once we know what value we create for our customers, we can understand what our customers are willing to pay, how they pay, and how they would like to pay. The revenue streams block explores the mechanisms used to derive fees from each of the customer segments. These can include transactional sales for physical assets or the usage of a service, fees paid to make use of a service or product temporarily, such as a subscription of a streaming service or the hire of construction tools, or even license fees paid for the use of a brand. Revenues can also be based on commissions or brokerage fees and for providing promotional access to an audience. Now that we understand our customers and how we exchange value for revenues, we can consider the internal building blocks. These include the key resources that are needed to deliver the value proposition and to create revenues. These assets can include the physical facilities, equipment, or vehicles. You may have intellectual assets such as patents, copyrighted material, or know-how. Resources can also include your people and your financial position. Some resources that are needed for the business model to work are not available to you from within your business. These are obtained through partnering with other organizations and providers. Key partnerships defines who it is that we need to work with to deliver the business model. Who are your key suppliers? Are there key activities that are provided by someone else? There are 4 types of partnership: strategic alliances with non-competitors, cooperating with traditional competitors, working jointly with a third party to create a new business venture, or transactional relationships that assure a reliable source of supply. The final building block considers the costs associated with each of the other 8 elements of the business model. Consider what resources cost the most, which activities are most expensive, what is the cost structure, and how a charge is incurred in operating your business model. These could be fixed costs that do not change as your levels of business fluctuate, or they could vary in proportion to the volume of business that you are doing. You should also consider how costs can be apportioned over a range of activities as the scale of your business increases. For example, unit prices may be reduced as you buy higher volumes. And similarly, economies of scope may be enjoyed as you expand operations so that key activities support multiple channels. Together, the 9 basic building blocks provide you with an overview of how your business creates and delivers value, how the various elements interrelate, what they cost to deliver, and how much revenue they generate. It's also a great way to articulate your business model to others. However, the business model canvas is perhaps most useful when it's used to challenge each element of the existing business model to generate new ideas and concepts. It comes to life when you systematically ask, what if, for each of the elements. For example, what if we didn't need to be in the room when delivering training? Could be the spark that leads to the development of a new online learning business model. This is particularly relevant when a business is forced to re-examine its business model in response to macro-environmental conditions, removing one or more of the basic building blocks. For example, when the social distancing measures undertaken to combat COVID-19 result in your main channels to your customer being closed. By using the business model canvas to understand your traditional model, you will be able to explore new models that deliver sustainable strategic alternatives. To learn more about the business model canvas, we recommend that you read Business Model Generation by Alexander Osterwalder and Yves Pigneur, or visit the Strategizer website. We should point out that Optima Training is in no way affiliated with Strategizer. We just admire the work that they do.
The best way to learn how to trade is to follow somebody who's already proficient at doing it. And who better to follow than Wall Street? That's why here at Trading Academy, we teach our students to follow the footprints of major hedge funds and institutions. How? By utilizing our...
Okay, so you can see it's very flexible. You can be used in an existing company. It can be used for a startup. It can be used for anything or a part of a company. It's a truly, really flexible device. So why the business model canvas? There are lots of frameworks out there for creating a business, but it's one page that shows how your idea creates, delivers, and captures value. It's a living document meant to change with evidence. And this is the thing I like best about it. As you get more and more data about your company, you can change your business model. It'll allow you to, it actually will help you find a business model based on evidence that you extract from your customer segments, from talking to potential customers, etc. Now, one of the things that this sort of forces on you is talking to customers. One of the biggest mistakes most entrepreneurs make is they don't actually go and talk to their customers about their idea, because they assume that they've got a solution to the problem, and so they just move forward with it, and it can be very costly to do that, and you waste a lot of time. If you're not talking to your customers, you can't really validate your idea or your potential customers. That's why you select a segment. I think women 18 to 34 are going to be my biggest segment. You want to go talk to as many women like that as you can and see if they actually like your idea. If they like the idea, come back to them with a minimum viable product and see if they'll actually pay for it. It's a great way to pre-sell your business. And this is where the business model canvas becomes important, because it's a storyboard of your business on one page. You start on the right, that's customer value, then move left on how you'll deliver it. Then the bottom is the money, cost, and revenue that you're going to need. Okay, so I'm going to go through this really quickly because I have an activity I want all of you to complete tonight with the business model canvas. So who specifically are you serving? Well, the concrete groups of people, organizations who will use or buy your product. That's who you want to talk to. Now, you have to pick several sometimes. You might have several different segments, or you might pick the wrong one and have to move to another, but you don't know that until you start talking to them. Who hurts enough to care now? What makes them a distinct group? Is it their job, the context of what they do, their budget? So who is hurting enough to care right now about the product that you have? That's a good way to identify your first segment. Evidence is your interview notes, existing buying behavior, lists of communities you can reach. Now, if you can't get out or you're kind of stuck, you can do synthetic interviews, and that means using AI. So what you do is you go in and you create a persona in AI. You're a young woman who's employed at Deloitte. You make $80,000 a year. You're an analyst, and I have a product that's going to help you feel fresher at the office, whatever it may be. And you just start asking the interview questions, and it will respond as that person. You have to be sure you put in, there's lots of places you can see these prompts, but you have to put in a total personality in the prompt so you get good answers. Otherwise, it has a tendency to be pretty sycophantic, and it'll just tell you what you want to hear. So you want to make those prompts really good. The pitfalls of this is oftentimes people say, well, everyone is my customer. That's a rookie mistake. No, not everyone is your customer. There's a very specific group of people who are your best customers, and that's who you want to find. So pick a beachhead, one narrow, high-paying segment first, and go with that. Problems, jobs, often covered in your value proposition notes. What pain or job are you solving? Now, this is not a column on the business model canvas. This is something you ask as part of your customer segments. So what's the task your customer is trying to get done or the pain they want removed? Now, that can mean they want better parking, which here would be a great pain to remove if you could figure that out. And then what do they currently do? What's clunky, costly, confusing, or slow about it? And your evidence is direct quotes, task timing, error rates that people tell you they're experiencing, either an error rate in trying to purchase something or on their computer or their phone. The task timing, I don't like, but I have to do this at 4 in the morning. I'd rather have it at 10 in the morning. And direct quotes from your audience who basically say, I don't like this. This is really hard for me. I don't understand how this works, et cetera, et cetera. Your value proposition. Now, this is really, really important. This is why your customers care about your business, not what you think is important. This is not the features and benefits that you believe your product represents. It's what your customers believe is most useful about your product. That's why you've got to talk to your customers. A lot of times people think that the values or the features and benefits that they perceive are the most important. And many times they move ahead with building something along those lines, and it turns out to be a mistake. So what you're trying to find out is what is the result they get because of you. They save time, money, they reduce risk, they feel better, their skin feels better, whatever it may be. Their kid goes to sleep on time, doesn't stay up all night, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to find out what about your product makes them happy, solves their problem, does the job they want to be done, not what you think. This is, for some reason, very hard for entrepreneurs to get through their head. They always default back to the features and benefits they believe. And it's because they don't want to do the hard work of talking to customers. So many entrepreneurs don't do that. It's an easy step. It's a little hard to complete, but you should talk to as many people as possible. Not your friends. If you're standing in line, waiting for something, waiting for coffee, turn around and ask the person behind you, what do you think of this idea? And just do a quick interview. It's better than finding people who are just going to agree with you. The formula for your value proposition is for women, for the segment, women 13 to 24, who have a certain job or pain that they want done. We provide a solution so they can benefit, unlike the current alternative. So that's the kind of question you want to ask. So for your segment, what is the pain you're feeling? Well, we provide this great solution. So what's your benefit? And unlike your current alternative, what's better about us? I mean, that's basically the questions you want to ask. So you want to have before and after metrics, testimonials, demos, etc., so people can understand your product. And what a lot of people do, unfortunately, they fall into the error of listing features instead of outcomes. You want to talk about outcomes up here, not features. So when you're asking questions, you want to talk about what outcome are you looking for? Not what feature is best for you, what feature do you like best, or what benefit, but what is the outcome you want from this product or service? Channels. This is how they find, try, buy, and onboard your product. So the places or paths you use to reach customers and deliver value. Is it radio? Is it TV? Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Is it a podcast? And then you want to map the funnel that you've discovered from interviewing your customers, or that you believe is the funnel. So your customer has to discover that you exist. They have to evaluate your offer. They have to make a purchase decision. They have to onboard the product or service, and then they have to use it, and hopefully they'll refer once they've used it and are happy. So this is the funnel that you want to discover and sort of map out if you can. It may vary a little bit, but this is generally the kind of sales funnel most products and services go through. The evidence for that is going to be your traffic sources. Are you getting organic search from Google? Are you buying traffic from Reddit or some other place? What's your conversion rate? How often do people switch or buy your product or service? Do you have to have 1,000 people come to your website before one of them buys? You need to know that kind of stuff. What's your cost per acquisition by channels? And your pricing is totally engaged with this too. Your channels will have different pricing. Your segments will have different price elasticities, all those kinds of things. And we talk about how you find that out a lot of times in classes, but this is a quick way to understand what channels are going to be most important for me. And generally you can guess at what these are, but it's better to talk to your potential customers and have them tell you. What a lot of people do as a mistake is they put too many channels at once. You want to pick the first one or two only that you think are going to be most effective. You want to test them out before you just put them all in there and hope for the best. Customer relationships. This is how you interact to acquire, keep, and grow customers. The style of relationship, is it self-serve? Is it concierge? Is it community? Is it automated? And the touch points that build trust. This is what the customer relationships are about. What keeps them coming back? What feels premium or personal to them? What creates community for them? What creates, solutions to their issues? Your evidence that you're doing a good job is retention curves. If your retention curve is going up, repeats, community engagement. I'm trying to remember what this stands for. I'll come back to that. I can't think what it is. Anyway, one of the pitfalls is overpromising white glove service that you can't sustain. You don't want to promise things you can't deliver, ever. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. And you want to create a delightful experience for your customers any way you can. You have a question?
Long shot, it's NPS Net Promoter Score, like that.
I'm sorry?
Net
Promoter Score, that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's Net Promoter Score is a great, if you don't know what it is, look it up on Google. It's a really great thing to understand. It tells you how successful you are in the consumer's mind, how many of them know who you are, and think about your company more than once every century. Revenue streams, how the money comes in, exactly. And what's really important is not only how it comes in, but when it comes in. Can you collect up front? If you can collect up front, investors love that, because what it means is if you can collect up front and extend the time you have to pay your bills from 30 days to 60 days or even 90 days, a lot of your partners will allow you to do that. Your vendors, when you're a new business, it's kind of like loaning you money, because then you can use the money that comes in for marketing and other things before you have to pay your bills. And it's a great way to get cash flow to, build your business. So what do they pay for? Is it a subscription? Is it a one-time use? Is it a usage success fee? How much do they pay? How much are they willing to pay? And how will they pay? And when will they pay? So what's your initial offer? What's your price anchor? So what that means is this is where you're going to put all of your main pricing that you're most dependent on and probably has your highest margin. Is there any upsell or add-on? Do you have any, when they're in their cart and they start to abandon it, do you have a pop-up that offers them a better deal or a discount or some future discount on a next purchase, whatever? What's your evidence of how the money's coming in revenue? Price test. You want to do A/B testing all the time, never stop, because price elasticity is really important. You want to charge as much money as you can possibly get so your margin is high as possible, particularly if you're just starting your business. The reason for that, and I recommend at minimum 70% margin. And the reason is you're going to make mistakes and that margin is going to shrink. And you generally don't want it much below 40 because it's hard to pay for all of the variable costs and fixed costs if you have less than 40% margin and still leave room for profit. So now as you get more experience, that margin will creep back up, but you want to be sure you start high. And sometimes you need to start outrageously high and do price testing because a lot of times people are willing to pay for a solution to their problem a whole lot more than you believe they are. So you want to test these things out to see, you don't want to leave money on the table. And pricing is super hard because your instinct is to lower the price so more people will buy it. That's not necessarily the right strategy. If you have a premium product, you really want to be high. Because that's the whole point. You're going to be spending a lot of money putting your brand together and marketing to make it look like a high-end product. You need to make a lot of money to make that, to monetize that. So what's the initial offer? What's your price anchor? Any upsell or add-ons? Price test, pre-orders. Crowdfunding is a great way to get pre-orders. Crowdfunding is a miracle. I love crowdfunding. You can get all kinds of money without giving up any equity. And I am not a big fan of venture capital or angel investors because they don't really have your best interest at heart. They have their best interest at heart. And I know an awful lot of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley who built billion-dollar companies and basically got out with enough money to buy lattes for a year. That's about it. So that's why you see so many serial entrepreneurs, because they learn from that first experience, they go back and they take care of themselves the second time around. Remember, VC, venture capital, is a failure model. They only want the big winners. They do not want everybody. They're not investing in you, hoping you'll become a profitable company. They want you to be huge, 10x, 30x exit. They don't care about anybody else. And they don't want zombies, companies that make just enough money to get by and are slightly profitable. They don't want that. They will abandon you. They'll say, thanks for your effort. Keep whatever money's left and good luck to you. 97.4% of all VCs fail after 4 years. VC invested companies. They only want that small percentage of big winners. So keep that in mind. If you want a 97.4% chance of failure, take VC money. Or if you have to grow super fast, you have to get VCs because they're willing to invest. Or if you have to build something and you don't know how you're going to monetize it, but you can get a lot of users very quickly, VC money can help. But there's only a few instances where I would encourage you to go to a VC. Build it yourself, keep 100%. It may take longer. It may take a lot slower organic growth, but you'll own it and you'll be able to benefit from it the most. And you'll be able to recognize your vision over time. When you take on VC money, they put somebody on the board and you work for them. You're not working for yourself anymore. Anytime you have a shareholder company, it's not your company, it's a shareholder company. And they can replace you at any time if they control the board. So you want to be real careful about that. That's a whole other class, but yeah. Key activities, what you must do very well to deliver the value. So a few critical tasks: build, curate, deliver, sell, support, comply. You have to do all that well. If these slip for 2 weeks, would value break? You have to ask that question. If I can't deliver on these things over a 2-week period, will that kill my company? And the reason you want to ask this question is because we already know that every 3 years, your business is going to be interrupted for up to a month. That's how, from flooding, from a fire, from pandemic, from all kinds of things, you can have a business that can break for more than 2 weeks. You want to know, am I doing this well enough to stay in business or to grow my business? So process maps, SLA, cycle times is all important. A lot of times people make laundry lists. They prioritize 3 to 5 needles rather and not the head. So you want to be careful about prioritizing just the needles. You got to take care of every straw, every piece of straw. Key resources: what you must have to perform the activities: people, tech, IP, brand, cash, licenses, physical assets, operations, etc. Ask what is scarce, expensive, hard to copy that gives you an edge. If it's easy to get into your business, you're going to have a lot of competitors. If it's hard, or there's something that's hard to do about getting into your business, that keeps your competitors at bay. So you want to look for team resumes where people have special skills. You want to create prototypes that you can test, and you want to have intellectual property filings. I'm not a big fan of patents, but I am of trademarks and trade secrets. And there's one that you can't actually file anything on. It's called trade dress, that, like Coca-Cola's bottle. If we started a soft drink right now and we used the same bottle as Coke, we'd be sued and stopped immediately because they own that bottle shape. That is trade dress. That has been in their shape for so long that no court in the world would allow us to have it. So as you develop your company and you develop certain colors or certain brand identifiers, those become trade dress, and they're a form of intellectual property.
Could you just expand a little on why you don't like patents?
Yeah, because there's too many patent trolls, and patent can put you out of business. So when you create a patent, it's public. Everybody can see it. And what that means is a patent troll out there, somebody who wants to take advantage of you, will come upon you one day and send you a letter and say, you're violating our patent. And if you don't stop, we're going to put you out of business. Well, it costs a minimum of 80 grand to fight that very first piece of patent troll, $80,000. That's a whole lot of your startup money, if not all of it. Most people can't afford it. So what do small companies do? And this is what patent trolls do. They go to a whole lot of startups who can't afford to defend it. They give you a great deal, pennies to license the patent. Then they take all of the small companies that have licensed it. They go to the sue Apple for a patent infringement, and they say, look at all these companies that agree that our patent is valid. And then Apple pays them millions of dollars because the courts have said, oh, well, if all you guys say it's valid, it must be valid. When in fact, they've just blackmailed you into doing it. The courts finally caught on to that and put a stop to a lot of it, but it still goes on. And I've started 19 companies. I've never had a patent in any one of them. I've used trade secrets rather than patents because I don't want the trouble. And generally speaking, a trade secret, in my opinion, is a whole lot easier to take care of than a patent. And patents only last 20 years. Trade secrets last forever. Coca-Cola's formula is a trade secret. It's not patented or anywhere. And only 3 people at any given time know it. In fact, there was a famous case a decade or so ago where one of the women who worked for them and knew the formula tried to sell it to a South American company for millions and millions of dollars. And they stopped her and sued her, and she went to jail. So don't mess with Coca-Cola.
Question in the back. Can you talk a little bit more about trade secrets and like what that is?
Yeah, so a trade secret is when we have some special thing we do in our company, or a special formula, or a special technology that we develop, but we don't tell anybody about. And we officially designate it a trade secret. And very few people know it in the company. And it's not obvious to people who use the technology. It's not something you can reverse engineer, generally speaking. Although millions of companies have tried to reverse engineer Coke's formula through tasting it and doing chemical analysis. But you don't have to file any papers. You just have to say, this is a trade secret. It's like copyright. You don't actually have to file with the Library of Congress. If you put Sherrod copyright symbol 2025, it's copyright. And there's a thing called the poor man's copyright where if I send a manuscript, let's say I've written a book, I put that in an envelope, I send it to myself, and the US Post Office stamps it with a date that they delivered it or that they put that went through their system. That is an official government entity that has said, this document was posted on this date, and that gives you actually even more validity in court. And if you really want to protect it, you pay 35 to 50 bucks to the Library of Congress, send them a copy, and you get an official copyright document. But those are the three ways you can copyright something. Yeah.
So if you register your business, is there an inherent protection for your name or branding, or do you need the additional paperwork?
Well, if you want to really protect your registration with the state only protects you in that state. It doesn't protect you anywhere else. And even in the state, they don't care if somebody comes along with the same name in a different industry. So if you're XYZ Corp and you sell a great new software, XYZ Corp Barbecue could come into existence and they wouldn't care. Now, if you trademark your name, then you have to go through that. It's not very expensive, but it's a good idea to get a lawyer anyway, to make sure that you're not violating someone else's. And the only real rule you have to follow with trademark is it can't confuse the consumer. So if you have something called Campus Dash, DoorDash is going to send you a letter of cease and desist because they're going to say that's confusing if it's a delivery service. So Campus Dash is way too close to DoorDash. As a food delivery service, it's going to confuse the consumer and they will not grant you a trademark. So it has to be in a different industry completely, or it has to be a completely different thing.
And if I may follow up on patents and trade secrets and all that, is it internationally enforceable? Like if I had a patent in the United States, or let me use one, and then someone else, someone big in the United States or in Venezuela, or another random country, uses my technology, would
Not protected unless you do it worldwide. And even then, your protection's iffy. There are certain countries that will go by that patent. Well, but if you're just in the United States, you'll get copied everywhere if they can figure out how to do it. And you know, if you're a pharmaceutical company, you want a patent. If you are, if you have some really cool technology that's brand new, you might want a patent. But you got to be pretty certain that it's brand new and nobody's going to be able to come after you. There are some instances where you need a patent, but very few actual instances that I can think of where a patent is actually necessary. Pharmaceutical is absolutely critical. You have to have it, or they're not going to pay any attention to you. And startups are now the whole R&D of the pharmaceutical industry. They don't do any research themselves. They buy companies, so they let them spend the money, and then they come in and go through the FDA, and then they come in and buy them for a multiple. And a whole lot of entrepreneurs have got really rich with that. So be careful with your IP. There's copyrights, patents, and trademarks and trade secrets are the most common IP. Okay. Key partners. Who helps you succeed because they can do it faster, cheaper, better. Suppliers, platforms, distributors, affiliates, integrators, regulators. What do we not want to build? Who already has reach or capability or credibility? So find people who can do this for you. You can save a bundle. Open source software is great. When Goldman Sachs wanted to build a whole new software to help them understand AI, they went to open source. They used everything for the foundation from open source, so it didn't cost anything, and they built on top of it, and then they trademarked or they patented everything on top of it, which is what a lot of companies do, because that was proprietary. Memorandums of understanding, partner fees, integration timelines. You want to make sure you don't have an over reliance on one partner, because if they leave, you're hosed. So you want to have 2 or 3 partners that can help you, or somebody in the wings that can help you get it done. And then cost structure, what it costs to run the model. You have fixed salaries, rent, software, variables per unit order. A lot of other things are variable. What are the top 3 costs that move with scale? And what's the monthly burn? 2 super important questions. There is a difference between scale and growth. When a venture capitalist is talking about scale, what they're talking about is you can build 1,000 widgets for $1,000 today. Tomorrow, you can build 1,000 widgets for $500. And 6 months from now, you can build 10,000 widgets for $250. That's scale. Growth is different. Growth is when, and growth is more expensive because growth requires you, if you have to grow sales, that means you have to grow operations. Then you have to grow your product, how many products you're making because you're going to sell more, et cetera, et cetera. So growth generally involves a whole lot of the operational side of the company and the manufacturing side of the company, the supply chain side of the company gets very expensive. That's growth. Scale is when you're able to make more for less. Okay. Common pitfalls. Everyone's my customer. Pick one beachhead and stick with it. Listing features is value. Do outcomes, not features. Skipping channel details. Map the funnel. No prices, put a real number. You can change it later, but start super high. Canvas never changes. Date your canvas, commit to weekly updates. So when you write down a canvas, make sure you put a date on it so that when you have more evidence, you can come back and change it. So here's a quick example of a business model campus. The idea is a campus meal prep microservice. Customer, busy undergrads in dorms without kitchens. Value prop, healthy, ready to heat meals that beat delivery on speed price. 5-minute heat and eat. Channels, TikTok, plus dorm ramps, plus QR codes in residence halls, pickup lockers made available in residence halls or in other parts of campus, maybe in classrooms. Relationships, self-serve app, weekly menu drops, skip any week. Revenue, $10 a meal or $39 weekly. 4-pack, first order, $9. Activities, menu planning, batch cooking, locker drops, app ops. Resources, chef partner, shared kitchen, delivery lockers, ordering app. Partners, campus housing, local commissary, payment processor, cost, ingredients, kitchen rent, delivery time, app fees, campus promos. Riskiest assumption, students will pre-order weekly packs. Test 7-day landing page, QR code, etc. That's a quick and dirty BMC. And it tells you a lot about what kind of business model you're going to need or what you should be thinking about. And it gives you an idea. Does this look like a decent business? Yeah, it's not bad. But then you have to start digging into it and talking to your customers. And are they going to really do this? Can you validate it? Okay, so now I want you to take the business model canvas you have and get your pen out. So we're going to do 3 rounds of 10 minutes each. The first round, you're going to do the market side. I want you to fill this out with an idea, any idea that comes into your head. So I want you to fill it out with customer segments plus problems plus value proposition. That's round 1. So we're going to do that first. Round 2 is your delivery side, channels plus customer relationships plus revenue streams. Round 3 is going to be the ops side, key activities, resources, partners, and cost structure. So take 10 minutes and work on customer segments, problems versus value prop. And we'll talk about it for just a minute and we'll go on to section 2. Okay.
By all means, chicken.
So I've got no copies of it, by the way, if you want to take it
from yourself, please.
Where do the problems go?
That's in your value prop. And the customer segments should answer the question, are we solving these problems? Or it's a problem solution thing that it's a discovery thing like shoes. We discovered that he loved these shoes. And boy, there are a lot of people, kids who don't have shoes. That was a discovery. That he created a whole model of buy one, give one. That's true. You finish early, let me know. Put the example back up in case you need to look at. You have any questions while you're working on it? No.
The second one was customer relations.
I'm sorry?
The second one was customer relations. The second, the
Yeah, the
second,
value proposition.
yeah.
So what do your customer segments believe is most valuable about your product or your service?
Oh, yeah.
Is it saves them time,
Mhm.
helps them finish a specific job or get the job done?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But it's what they think, not what you think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's hard to fill out if you know, so you can just guess now. You know, they're not here to talk.
Oh, yeah.
So you all right on that? This is what we're working on. We're doing the first part for you that just came in. So you're filling out the market side, which is customer segments for plus problems that customer segments have, plus creating the value prop. And generally speaking, you don't find that out until you talk to your customer. But if whatever you decide on your customer segment, state of swag, what you think they would find valuable about the product or service. And this is an example of answers to the various pieces of the business alternatives. I'll just give you a quick view of what it could look like. Thank you. Okay, I got that done. All right, so any questions that came up around that first third of the. Yeah, well, good to see you, Bo.
Yeah, see too. How do we evaluate problems without testing?
Well,
What do we need to test?
well, you can. I mean, so when you're filling it out in a situation like this, you just think you're gonna get it. But you really need to talk to experts in the real world to get a sense what they want, what they like, what they value. Because they'll tell you things at the time that you haven't thought about. And then one of the things you do when you finally get to your minimum viable product is you put it out there and you go back and you validate what they said. So we took what you said and we built this minimum viable product. And it can be a minimum viable product, can be anything from an app that barely works to something you've drawn on a piece of cardboard and said, show me how you would use this. That works too. The whole idea of this approach is to save you time and money. So yes, you're putting time into the interviews, but that's going to save you time when you're actually building the product. So you take it to them and then you iterate on what they said. So, well, I like this, but I think it would be better if you did X. So if you believe that that's right, you go back and you fix it back to them again. So you iterate quickly based on, so you take it to them when it's 80% done, and then you iterate on what they tell you and make it better and better. Now, one thing about digital products and services, you never are done. You're always upgrading, you're always making it better from maybe testing and continuously talking to your customers. Because over time, your customers will change. You know, their priorities will change, what they need will change. So you've got to be able to adapt to that. You'll have new customers coming in who are still like the old stuff and are just being introduced to it. But you've got to grow with your customers and evolve with your customers. So that's where new products and services continue to come into the mix. This is one of the reasons why big companies only last about 15 years, because these days, I mean, they used to last a lot longer, but technology is moving so fast and consumers are changing their patterns so quickly that if you don't have a company that can rapidly adapt and change and find new products and services, it's pretty hard to stay in business. You get bought or merged or you go out of business. So you want to be able to create a company that can move and adapt and be resilient to the marketplace and take advantage of serendipitous opportunities. So that means you have to have flexible budgeting, you have to have flexible HR, you have to have flexible everything, and be willing to pivot at any moment. And that's very hard for companies to do, because as you go from entrepreneurial to managerial, you get more and more staid, and the decisions you made early get more and more baked in, and it becomes more and more expensive to change them. And that's called path dependency. So the choices you make early on tend to become more and more concrete and hard to change as you move along. And that's another reason why companies have a hard time changing what they do. So when you're thinking about this, you want to think about adaptability and flexibility. Okay, let's do round two, which is the delivery side. You finish the market side. So now you've got channels, customer relationships, and revenue stream. We'll fill that out and then we'll do the ops side last. Yes, sir.
Can you go back to the slide that shows the UVP structure?
I'm sorry?
The UVP slide, like the structure or like the sentence.
No, I don't, but I can tell you.
Yeah, that was.
Okay. So when you want to prompt for an MVP, one of the first things you want to do is give it a tell whatever AI you're using, if they are an expert in this particular field, whatever it is, whatever the company is you're trying to build, a widget company. You are the world's greatest experts in building widgets. And we're building a MVP for this product.
Wait, for the UVP.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So a unique.
Yeah, that's just a sentence.
Oh, sure how to answer that. You want a prompt? Or
Yeah, one of the previous slides had like a structure.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were talking about. That way we're fine.
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay. Oh, that formula? Yeah. For which segment has this particular pain, we provide this solution so they can benefit in whatever way, so they can run faster, be more beautiful, whatever, unlike current alternatives, whatever that is. This is actually called a falsifiable statement or a testable statement. Falsifiable in that if you find enough evidence, you can make pieces of it or all of it false. And it's a great way to test your assumptions, is going out and seeing if you have evidence that changes anything in this. It's another way to validate what you're doing. And you can simplify it to say, we provide X for people who need Y so that they can accomplish Z.
Is word of mouth a channel?
Yeah, absolutely. There are whole companies that depend on word. And a lot of startups, that's how they get their start, is word of mouth. People start talking about it. It's happening with restaurants, having with donut shops, and you find somebody who makes a healthy donut that's delicious, they're gonna get a lot of word of mouth. And you can stimulate word of mouth. One of the best examples that I've ever seen of that was a guy who started a clothing company, and he went to every hairdresser in town and told them about his company and bought lunch for them to tell them about it and everything. And they talked all the time, all day long to their customers. And they're almost all women, and it made his business. Gave him enough boost in the beginning of the business to get afford to advertise.
That was gonna be my next question, is just like invitations, sending people like samples or.
Well, samples are great, but you need to also have testimonial. You just send somebody a sample can be great, but you have to give them proof that it's going to be a good experience. There's way too much competition for people's attention and time. So you have to prove to them that the attention they're going to give this and the time they're going to give it is worth their while. Because they do not want to be disappointed. Because that's time they're never going to get back. So they do not want, they want to make sure that they're going to have a pretty good experience. And most people are willing to pay for that. Right now, the top 10% of the US population is basically doing all the spending. It's not required, like rent, food and stuff. So discretionary spending right now is being held up by the top 10%. If they stop spending, economy's in trouble because our economy is 70% based on consumer spending. So it's the stock market is being held up by 10 big AI companies for the most part, our chip companies who are spending enormous amounts of money or promising to spend enormous. Okay, we're going to be out a third at a time, and we're on the second, third is the delivery side, channels, customer relationships, vendors, how do you start? And this is an example of small games, it's kind of stuff you need to. Okay. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. And by all means, still.
I didn't finish one, but I tried to. I'm gonna follow right here. So, we're trying to get from all models with a. This is my first iteration. I have a third version coming in the mail soon. Interesting. I 5,000 sales on Amazon. Oh, really? It's just a 3D printed prototype. This is my first silicone iteration. As a look. It's good. It's not all. Yeah. But what I did on my second round, this is just a sample. I rounded out this corner, made them more sturdy. The holes. Just so I'm just actually creating a lot of products and that's pretty common all people have. So I'm interested. The only things available are like Velcro straps around this, keychains, and the keychain get nice funky. This is nice, very heavy. Sure, that's the patent question because I have a utility patent. Also, it's acceptable to the base program. How much such a margin on also? Well, I think that's also, but on 24.99 on margin, 70%. Gross, that's up 92, but after Amazon fees and everything, yeah, that's 67%. So that's good, wasn't it? That's sort of all very good. That's a good idea. Or Jason. It's a tough one. It's a hard one. Yeah, but also it's nice that it's not as dependent on the building, right? So no one can compete with the wall. It is the kind of thing for me to as a Chinese government. And you get ahead of pretty license. Big license on two different also. Yeah, but it means the power bombs are close to the potential bomb. Well, I can talk to you at some point. Pardon? I can talk to you. Sure. Well, send me an email. Thank you.
Okay, how about round two? You guys doing all right? Some of you already finished, I think, so if you're on round three, let's start on round three so we can get through this and I can answer any questions we have.
That's the example again.
Now, this is a pretty well built out example. I've had things where I've had empty columns because I didn't know. And that told me I needed more research, I needed to dig deeper. But anytime I have any glimmer of an idea, I start scoping it out on this piece of paper because it helps me think through. And generally speaking, for me anyway, the first time I have an idea, it has the most clarity in my head. It's not, I haven't got a lot of things that are interfering with it. So it's easy to start out and write down the basic structure of the idea. And then I can come back and add or delete things or change things. But that first impulse when the idea hits me, that's when I'm most eager to have one of these. Because it really helps me get started and it makes a record of the idea so that I don't lose the idea. I used to have a little red book that I kept hundreds and hundreds of ideas for years in. And I go back and forth to see if any of them really are related or are they connected in ways I had thought about before. With these, it's much, much easier to do. And so I started using these on a pretty regular basis. And generally speaking, I have a lot of ideas. Most of them don't go anywhere. It's hard to come up with a business idea that's going to actually make money and provide a living of any kind. So you want to. This is what this tool is so good at. It helps you differentiate between an idea that, wow, this is a great idea, but it's not really gonna turn into anything because there's just not enough here. And a lot of people have an idea for a single product. I had a student come to me once who had an idea for a bucket, a hunting bucket. And he had like 25 different pockets and devices and everything else on this hunting bucket. It was really useful, but it was not a company. It just, it wasn't gonna work as a company. Now, he could try to sell it to one of the outdoor stores or something like that, but they would just duplicate in their own way and do it differently. So you gotta have more than that. You have to have more than an idea or a single product usually. There are some single products that can make a business, but the first thing you want to think about, if you do have a business that you created with a single product, what's the next thing? What's the next product that can follow this? Or how can I expand on this product line? Or how can I make this more interesting to a different segment? Or is there an adjacency I can open? My first company was a magazine. First one I ever created was a magazine. And I created 6 companies off that magazine, off the same base of equipment. So that's called an adjacency. So I took the magazine, all the equipment I had, I created a graphics company. And then I created an ad agency. And then I created another magazine. And then a weekly newspaper. Every one of those made money in the first month because I had no cost. My cost was already built into my original business. And it was so cheap to start these other companies, you would have been stupid not to. But I had to scale up. I mean, I had to grow enough to be able to do that. I had to hire some people and that kind of stuff, but I was making enough money to make that easily doable. So your original idea, many times you can move immediately into adjacencies and not have a lot of costs. So if you have that single product, keep in mind that you're going to have to expand on that at some point. That is not going to be a business that's going to last it. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, sorry, you're scratching your head right now.
Good thing.
Okay, so you did that. I wanted you to have the experience of filling one of these out because you can see it's pretty darn easy. Now, this is your exit ticket. So what I want you to do, so the rubric is going to be, do you have a clear segment? Do you have a testable value? Do you have an initial pricing? Do you have your top risk name? And do you have a concrete test plan? This is what you want to do before you walk out of here. Now, your exit ticket, write 2 tests plus a metric plus a date that you're going to submit a photo to me of at this address that basically says, I'm going to have these 2 tests in the next 90 days, the next 2 weeks, whatever date you want. But I want you to be able to tell me that you are going to take the idea that you wrote down just now. I want you to do a couple of tests on so you can get a sense of what it's like to do a test and create a metric around that. Any metric you want. It can be, I talked to 10 people and I got their feedback. I mean, it doesn't have to be hard, and I'm going to do that within 2 weeks. And then you don't have to hand it in, but take a photo of it and send it to me.
And CC me.
Pardon?
And CC me. CC me. When I send it to you, I said CC me.
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 Oh, okay.
I sent it to you and CC me.
Okay, sorry. And CC you, got it.
I have 2
My hearing
friends.
aids aren't working great,
I
sorry.
have 2 friends. One friend is a good sister of mine back in Rwanda. Her name is Fifi.
Yeah.
And I was a classmate of this Chinese. Her name is Me.
Oh, wow.
Me.
That's like who's on first.
Exactly.
Okay, so I want you to do that. And then here's a cheat sheet for tests. This is a 7-day test card. So you can do a hypothesis. If we X, then the segment will do Y. What will you do this week? That can be a test too. I'm going to accomplish these things this week. A metric, 10% sign up rate, 5 pre-orders, 8 interviews, decision rule. Are you going to go with your idea? Are you going to pivot your idea? Are you going to kill the idea? You should have these basically written into your plan every 6 weeks or so, or 2 weeks, depending on how fast you're moving. You should always reevaluate at the end of the week or whatever your time period is. I'm going to reevaluate my idea and I'm going to decide if it's still good to go, or if I'm going to pivot on it, or if I'm going to kill it. And then this is a tiny unit economics check, because most of you are going to have a tiny number of units in a startup. So what's your price per order? What's your goal? What's your variable cost per order? What's your contribution per order? What's your initial guess of your cost per acquisition of a customer? What's your payback target in terms of months? Is it years, months, weeks? And required repeat orders for you to stay in business. So recurring revenue is one of the most important metrics you can have, and you want to develop as much recurring revenue as you can. In 2005, when I got recruited by Ancestry.com to help them get a liquidity event. And one of the things that happened is at the time, we were one of three successful subscription services on the web. How many are there now? There's hundreds and hundreds of them. But at the time, there were just three: Consumer Reports, Match.com, and Ancestry. We were the three most successful and about the only three subscription services. And the reason was because it was really expensive to do subscription services, and it took a long time. So most companies didn't want to do it. But then they figured out that one of the great advantages, if you succeeded in creating enough customers, was you knew exactly how much money you were going to make every month, and you could plan. When I first got to Ancestry, we were putting $6 million a month in EBITDA in the bank, like clockwork. So we knew exactly how much money we had to grow the business and how much money we had in profit. I mean, it was easy to figure out. So that's when we started television advertising, and that really supercharged the business. That grew us from 750,000 subscriptions to over 2 million. So understanding that, and we did some other things that were low-hanging fruit that were really easy but very impactful on the business. Like for instance, up until we did this, no one had ever aligned the announcement of a new database like an Army database of promotions for the military in World War I, World War II, and the Civil War. We did that on Veterans Day, and it crashed our service. And no one had ever, they just used to release them when they were done and to get them out as soon as possible. And we changed that, and it made a huge difference. We dropped $1 million to the bottom line that day. So there are easy things like that you can look at when you have an existing business. But you're going to discover those things as you begin a business. And you want to take notes of things that you realize that you may not be able to take advantage of now, but you can later. And as your path dependency begins to grow, you want to remember those things and figure out if there's a better way to do it or a better model. Speaking of models, this link will take you to Business Model Navigator. 55 different business models that are pretty common in business. So you can see add-on, hidden revenue, revenue sharing, affiliation, ingredient branding, reverse engineering, keto, integrator, reverse innovation, auction, layer player, Robinhood. I mean, 55 of these that you can learn what the model is, and you can mix and match. Premiums in here. There's a whole bunch of different things, and they give you an example of the companies that use these models. So you can go and actually look at them and see, okay, I can see how they're using that and how it works inside their company. And it can give you a really good idea of what model is going to work for you. And you need to understand what these are, because you don't want to get stuck in a model that's not going to work or it's not going to maximize your revenue. So the business model canvas is all about creating a model, but if you don't know what the models are, it can be difficult to actually figure out the right model for you. And this gives you a chance to test different models early and see if they work or not. If they do, great, keep going. If they don't, start over. Find a new model and make it work. And in the early days, you can do that without a lot of costs or operational headaches. Okay. All right. I think that's the last slide I have. Let me go back. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? Still got a couple minutes. Will.
You mentioned crowdfunding.
Yeah.
What are some good ways that we could do that?
Okay, crowdfunding is, it requires some money to create a really great video. If you can create a good video and get traction with it, and then also pre-seed your offer with maybe $1,500. If you can do that in the first day or so, it shows that people are interested. And have all your friends give $50 or something, and maybe you would give them the $50. Because the way Kickstarter works anyway, if they see traction, they'll start promoting you and you get more traction. You can raise a lot of money in crowdfunding. Most amount of money ever raised on Kickstarter was $36 million. It was by a fantasy author named Brandon Sanderson. He's pretty famous in the fantasy world. And over COVID, he wrote 5 novels. He came out on Kickstarter and said, hey, all my fans, if you order in advance, I will send you this special edition I'm going to publish with this book. And people were ordering all 5. And he had special editions that were going to be big hardback books that were going to have jewels on the cover and all this stuff. And people were paying thousands of dollars for those. And he raised $36 million in less than 30 days. Think how hard that would be with a VC. In less than 30 days, that's not possible unless you're an AI company. So it's a great way, and you don't give up any equity at all because it's a pre-order situation and it validates your idea. So you get pre-orders, you get validation that people like it and want to buy it. It's a great test. But you got to have that early start, and you got to have a really good video to get people interested. And you have to have a good set of pre-order values from $5 to $1,000 or whatever. I mean, one guy he only was raising $5,000, but he had one $10,000 item in which he would fly, if you paid it, he would fly you to meet with him for lunch in New Zealand. And nobody took it, but he had it up there. So, you can put anything you want. You can have baseball caps, you can have t-shirts, you can have product itself, you can have the product with the t-shirt, you can put people's name in it. There's all kinds of things you can do. I would go on Kickstarter and look. Now, Kickstarter, you only get the money if you raise at least the amount you say. So if you say, I'm looking for $5,000, you can raise 30 million, that's great. But if you raise 4,999, you get 0. Your idea has failed.
In a certain time limit on
Yeah,
that?
30 days. So if you don't raise the money, you don't get it.
So set it low?
So you kind of set it low.
Okay.
Now, there's another Indiegogo. Kickstarter is known for artists like gaming and books and that sort of thing. Indiegogo is more of a product, like an espresso machine or something like that. You get whatever you raise on Indiegogo. So if you have a $5,000 deal and you only raise $2,000, you get the $2,000 minus fees. So, but it's not good for things that are artsy. There's one guy I can tell you that has made China, and it looks just like a real piece of China, but it's got monsters on it, aliens and Godzilla and flying pterodactyls and all kinds of different things that you have to really look to see them. It's a lot of fun to have dinner guests over and put that out because they're eating or something like, why is Godzilla on my plate? And why do I have pterodactyls flying around? It's hilarious stuff. You got aliens, all kinds of stuff. He's gone back to the well 10, 15 times and gotten money for new products. So he does it on an ongoing basis, never gives up any equity. It's a couple $100,000 every time he does it. Yeah, so it's a revolutionary way to raise money, validate your product, and you have to be sure that you do your pricing right because you want to be sure you have enough money to actually produce it. So, and mail it. Just
I wanted to follow up on the customer part, customer relations and channels. It doesn't necessarily have to be people who are using your service to be the ones paying for your service. For example, B2G solutions. How does this change when your customer is not the person buying the service?
So like if you have magazine and you have advertisers who are supporting you, but you
Yeah,
need to have customers because there's subscribers.
like,
Something like that.
like I want TC students to, TC students are my users, but TC is the one paying.
Oh,
So
well,
like, how does that relationship play?
well, then you're actually co-creating something with TCU. So you want to make sure that you fit into their operation so that it makes it easy for them to get students engaged. And then you want to work with TCU to maximize the number of students that are getting your product or service. You want to make sure that TCU can integrate the product or service really easily, really well, and that they are motivated to make as many students aware of it or use it as possible. So your customer is TCU, not the student. So the channels of distribution you're going to be interested in, TCU has to decide how they're going to distribute it. You can advise them that they may need to use TikTok or something like that, or they may just use the university's official channels of communication. But you have to make sure that they're doing their best to make it work, because you want them to be successful. The more successful they are, the more likely you are to create another customer. Okay. Yes, sir.
So would you say like VCs most of the times are not the way to go?
But what are,
VCs venture capital?
I would say VC is not the way to go. Absolutely had to happen.
Okay.
You have to remember, VCs don't care about you, they care about money. And you are a vehicle to get money. That's how they look at you. And so if you're not gonna work hard enough, if you're not gonna be in there 24/7, they're not gonna be particularly interested in their replacement. And it's really hard to say no when they say, I'm gonna give you $3 million and I want a board seat. Or I want 2 board seats. You say no, you're not gonna get a check for $2 million. So if you say yes, and then they control the board, and all the board does is hire and fire CEOs for the most part. So you fail in 1 or 2 things, you're gone. You still own your stock, but you're no longer in business and they run it. And you have to understand, VCs are in it to make money. And if you're not the vehicle that's gonna do that, they'll either leave you or they'll replace you. So they have no sentiment about this at all. And so I would say there's only a couple of instances where you want to go, where you have to go super fast and you need a lot of money. Or you're pharmaceutical and you've got to have patents and you've got to have a ton of money to do things. Or if you're an AI and you've got billions of dollars to make it work. VC is the only place you're gonna get that kind of money.
So for software,
And software is another one.
that's more, instead of going through Kickstarter or something like that.
Yeah, but Kickstarter worked for software quite a bit. So there's a number of software companies that got proof of concept on Kickstarter and then went and got VC money and made a better deal. Because they had traction, they had customers, they had money, revenue coming through, and they were able to negotiate a much better deal than they would have if they hadn't had that. Because the VC would have had to pay for that. So this way, customers paid for it, validated the idea, they were able to negotiate much better terms.
How would you protect the idea in a platform such as like Kickstarter?
Well, you don't have to tell everybody everything.
Yeah.
You just do a video about the end result, the outcome. Is, we're gonna produce this awesome software that does X, Y, and Z. They don't have to know how it does it. And if they like it and it looks good, they're gonna use it. So we just protect it with trade secret. You don't let anybody know what you're doing. You can patent things if you have something really novel. But remember, patents only last about, well, they only last 20 years. So, and it's really hard unless you're a pharmaceutical company, you can change a single molecule to get another patent on top of that. You have to re-engineer the whole thing. So it can take you years to even get to the point where it's marketable. So you can lose a lot of time. And if somebody comes along and says, oh, we did that years ago. Actually, in 1950, we created the basis for this and we're gonna sue you. They're kind of photos.
So for code, you would recommend not to go with patent.
No, I would
Just
register.
trade secret.
Yeah, if you have something novel, I would keep it a trace. Sometimes you have to put a flag in the ground and put, what we call provisional patent. And those are not so expensive to get, and you can basically, it makes everyone think you're gonna get a patent. So you put a flag in that kind of holds everybody at bay, but you still have to publicize it.
With the provisional patent? That's still,
Well, that's the first stage of that.
yeah,
So they'll say, yeah, we're gonna give you a provisional while we make sure that there's actually no infringement or anything else. And you get that first stage of it done. But it goes into the system and people can find it.
so people can read the
Yeah.
stuff from the, even if it's provisional. Okay.
But you're saying, I'm staking out this ground.
Mhm.
And you make the patent application as broad as you can to cover as much area as you can. And that's why so many of these patents from the old days come back to bite you, because they made them really broad.
Yeah.
And I saw one patent that was in 1947 for a telephone exchange that they were using to sue every telecommunications company in America for infringing on their patent. Now, it was kind of ridiculous, but they got some traction early on in the 80s till the judges caught on and finally stopped that stuff. They made them pay court costs. But still, you gotta be really careful about it.
So how would you protect your idea if it's, I mean, aside from trade secret and provisional patent, you're not gonna file, what other?
The only other steps you can have is an NDA,
And that's it,
and that's it.
trademark.
And patents, if you only have a patent in America, China's gonna copy it anyway. So you have to be prepared for that. If you have a worldwide patent, they might still copy it because there's nobody who's gonna stop it.
Yeah,
But at least you got some paper protection. But you have to be willing to pay for that. That gets expensive really fast. And it uses up a lot of your money.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I was too cheap to get a patent. That was the first reason I didn't get it. Then when patent trolls came along, I was glad I didn't have it. And I was able to just keep moving without it. And just stay under the radar, but, and then once you get big, you can't help it, they're gonna notice. But a lot of times, at that time, you're too big for an investment. You have enough money to pretend it.
And keep in mind that with patents, the main thing comes down to enforcement.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the money and resources to enforce,
it's not, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you can even lose them.
Yeah.
If you don't enforce it.
Mhm.
You have to, and same with trademark.
Okay.
And Google, for instance, might lose Google as a trademark because I'll Google that, it's just become a word, like Clean It. Clean It's lost their trademark. Because everyone just said every tissue in the world is clean.
Yeah.
So they lost that trademark quite a few years ago. And they tried really hard. They sent letters to everybody and they did everything they could, but it just came into the dictionary, it even went into the dictionary as a tissue, so. Kind of messed them up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, thank you. I really enjoyed it. A lot of fun.
All right, thank you all. Raise your hand if you learned something new today. Everyone in the room. Again, the 3 E's: education, exposure, and experience. Education, exposure, and experience. This is the education. This is also the exposure. It's up to you to apply everything that you've learned, everything that you see, so that you can get valuable experience in what you're trying to build and develop. So with that being said, again, please give Dr. Sherrod another round of applause for his time with us today. Wealth of knowledge, and so be it that you have more questions, please reach out. It's not just only him, Dr. Rodney D'Souza is in the back, also another resource. Dr. Ken Corbett, who we had a couple weeks ago, also another resource. Mr. Tom Wavering, our Chief Strategy Innovation Officer, also another resource. So be it that I don't have the answer for you, I'm around these folks who have the answer, who have the experience that I can easily connect you to, that are also willing to help. And so that being said, thank you all again. Just 2 quick things. Please take that food in the back. If you want it. Please take it, please take it. And then the last thing, please introduce yourself to someone in the room that you have not met yet. If you have met everyone in the room, have a brief conversation about how things going, how your startup's going, how's life going. But another thing that we want to do here, create, is build the network inside and outside of the space, so that when you all see each other walking in the halls or walking on college campus, you know somebody new who may be an investor partner, a future partner, an investor, or just a friend or someone who can advocate for your startup through word of mouth. And so with that being said, thank y'all, and we'll see y'all next time.
Marcel,
Yes,
can I say
Ronnie,
one
yes.
thing really quick?
Yep.
So, the food in the back, it's because of an NIL deal that we're doing with one of our student athletes. So we use his code and we get free soft drinks, right? Is that what it is, free sodas?
I think it's free fries.
Free fries, okay, free fries this time. But every time we use his code, he gets a percentage off the deal, right? So it's a really cool way to sort of make sure our student athletes are getting their money's worth as well to use
Yeah.
NIL.
I'll send the QR code to that when I send the slide deck, and then usually about 48 hours I have our YouTube video up. So every session we've done is posted to YouTube in full that you can always review in your own time. Cool. All right, thank y'all.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Absolutely.